to say hi and welcome to our friends from Cornell. So joining us today, head coach David Archer, along with wide receiver Thomas Glover and linebacker Jake Stebbins joining us now. Let's see if we can get them well on board here. And when we do, we can get started. All right, we got Coach Archer joining us.
Jack,
hey, Coach. Good, Coach. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to be here.
Good to see you as always. As your guys are joining us, Thomas is here now. Jake should be with us. Jake's joining us right now also. So Thomas and Jake, welcome to both of you. Thank you for joining us. We'll get to you in just a moment here. Coach, let me start with you if I can. We always mention in coverage the idea of your being able to come back to your alma mater to coach here, and what a great privilege, and you talk about it often. I was looking at some of the notes and I was a bit astonished to see that it's your 10th year back here as a head coach, an assistant, an outstanding player at Cornell. So let me ask you for some of your quick thoughts as we head into the 2020 season, and then we'll have some conversation here with all of you.
Yeah, I don't know about the outstanding player part. You know what I mean? I got this next to Kevin Booth. He did most of the work. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I can't believe it either, Jack. I'm going to be 40 this fall, like a midlife crisis. You know, I've been here 10 years, and this will be my 20th with the program. 4 as a player, 6 as an assistant, 10 as the head coach. And it really is a tremendous privilege. You get to recruit and coach guys like Thomas and Jake and get to be involved with, I think, top to bottom, one of the most competitive football leagues in the country. And it's just a remarkable, challenge, and it's really fun to be a part of it and work to keep making strides with our program. And I think that, 2022 is going to be one that's going to be really memorable for us. I think last year, and I want to spend about 3 seconds talking about last year because it's ancient history. But last year, I didn't do a great job managing all the numbers. We had such a huge roster and kind of unprecedented circumstances, and really reflect on not doing a great job that way. And I think I probably am the only one in the program that held on to it. And the day that season ended, these guys did a tremendous job, Jake and Thomas and a lot of other senior leaders, really turning the page and establishing what they want for the 2022 season. And that's part of the great thing about football. You get to reinvent yourself every year, and every year's team, adds into a collection that becomes this program. And really, nothing has one to do with 1 year to the next, whether you're coming off of great momentum or not. You have to reestablish yourself that year. And I think these older kids have done a great job of doing that. And I think that for us, a big theme, is taking advantage of our opportunities. And that starts with our schedule. When they changed up the Ivy League schedule a couple of years ago, we used to start with our first league games. One was home, one was away. When they changed the schedule, it became feast or famine. Either the first 2 league games were either on the road or they're going to be at home. And because of COVID being canceled, we've started our last 2 Ivy League seasons, both league games on the road. We started at Yale and then at Harvard in 2019 and in 2021. Well, this year we get the inverse of it. We get to start our league games at home. We host Yale, then we host Harvard. We have 4 league games at home this year instead of 3. And so we got to take advantage of those opportunities. We got to make Sholkoff a tough place to play, particularly when you think of this, and I don't know if James mentioned it or Al, the guys that are seniors in this league, not the 5th years, but the guys that are seniors in this league have never played that road schedule, right? So Jake Stebbins is a true senior. He's never gone to Princeton. He's never gone to Brown. He's never gone to Columbia. So the inverse of that is true, right? The guys on Yale and Dartmouth and Harvard and Penn that are true seniors have never come to Ithaca. So I think we got to take advantage of that opportunity. And that starts with, training camp, putting great practices together and putting the team together. So long-winded opening comments, but that's kind of the starting point for me.
And I think your point about having a chance to go to other buildings is important. Harvard, we're going to talk about this in a little while, but Harvard has not played Yale in Harvard Stadium in 6 years because of all sorts of complications. They had a number of complications we'll talk about. But you talk about coming into places. I remember the first time I came in Shelkoff playing for Yale, and it was at the time Shelkoff was one of the only two schools that had artificial surfaces, right? And Franklin Field did, Penn did at the time also. And I remember coming onto the field and the artificial surface and a big arch stands there. And, as a player, you like to do that. Now, would you rather be playing home? Sure you would. But you like to get into some of these buildings. And I think, as you said, this year should feel a lot more normal for everybody in a lot of ways. And I'll get to some of that with the players in a second. But Coach, but one other question for you. You talked about last year was over. I will tell you, having seen a couple of your games last year, that if you just watched the games and the quality of play for Cornell, you may well have been surprised when you saw what the final record was. Mm-hmm. I know as head coaches, that's not necessarily a compliment to you, but it's meant to be just a suggestion that there's quality players there. So looking back at last year then, and looking at what you want to do and accomplish this year, what do you think are the most significant things that need to improve so that the final record will accurately reflect the quality of the play and the players?
Yeah, I think that, to address what you're saying, you're absolutely correct. I got two guys on the screen here that I think could be as good as anybody at their position or on their side of the ball, in this league, and when you take over a program, I think it was one of Bobby Bowden's quotes is, you lose big, you lose close, you win close, and you win big, and you kind of go in that spectrum. And we've been in this lose close, win close phase for longer than I've wanted to be, longer than anybody has. And so when it comes down to tight ball games like that we seem to inevitably be playing in a lot. One of my coaches had come from Penn State, and he's like, Dave, we practice 2-minute drill a lot around here. Like, we didn't do that at Penn State. I said, well, these Ivy League games are tight. They're going to come down to these last possessions a lot. So I think for us, we need to stop beating ourselves. So we need to make sure we hold the football, take care of the football, don't give it away. We need to make sure we cut down on penalties, particularly on P and 10 or 1st and 10. What happens on those first couple plays of the drive can really dictate, what your chances of points per possession are on that. And then I think the one other glaring thing for me is the red zone. When we get into the red zone, it's got to produce 2 points and not field goals. So off the cuff, that's what I look at in terms of the actual, schematics in the football part.
We often hear people say that this Ivy League, a quarterback-driven league, and I've said before, you can say that about a lot of leagues, I guess. But how do you look at your quarterback evolution here and what you're looking to for this season?
Yeah, you can say that about any league, but what I really think is a better appropriate quote, I think it was Bill Cowher, said, your season is defined by your backups. And I find that to be really true in the game of football, because the quarterback is important. And we've all seen teams that have a real live guy at quarterback, right? But all other positions on the offense and defense and the special teams, equally important. And we know it's a 10-game season with no buys. Hopefully someday there will be. But right now there's 10 games, no buys. These guys at all these schools compete in the classroom as well as on the field. And so you need to make sure you can develop the quality depth that even if you have a star quarterback, and I think we got a couple of good ones, right? It's all the other positions that could create a matchup problem in a hurry, where all of a sudden you have a true freshman playing whatever position and the team you're going against has a 5th-year senior at that position. Now you got yourself a matchup issue. So I think more the Ivy League is a team that's dedicated on the depth you're able to develop.
Yeah, I think that's a good observation. That's what we've seen it play out throughout the course of the Ivy League history, certainly most recent history. Thomas, let me bring you into the conversation here if we can. You had an exceptional year last year, first team All Ivy as a receiver. And I'm curious, I want to talk to you about what you think the offense needs to do to improve, but just from a personal perspective, you made a transition from running back to a wide receiver and made it pretty spectacularly. All right. So talk a little bit about that from your perspective, making that transition and then having such great success with it.
I just want to say thank you first. And the transition was definitely a difficult one, but it was made easy because I had great coaches on the offensive side of the ball that just allowed me to, I guess, like really just like grow into my role as being a receiver. Like playing running back, I was spread out wide a lot, but it's much different just consistently being like actually out wide and having to run the full route tree and like, I guess, just like being out there a lot. I mean, it's a learning curve to just being playing in general. And like, it was really important for them to give me that confidence and instill that in me. And that really helped me throughout the season.
What was your first thought about the notion of changing? Because my guess is going to be, and look, a lot of guys, I went up to Yale as a quarterback. I was one of 11 quarterbacks. This was in the era where your freshmen could not play varsity. And you would get 3 varsity years. And I ended up starting for 3 years as a roverback, monsterback kind of thing. So, very quickly, I kind of looked around. I said, maybe I'll look for a position on the other side of the ball. But as athletes, you tend to think of yourself, and I'm sure you thought of yourself as a running back. So what was your first reaction to this idea of becoming something else on a football field?
I mean, yeah, I definitely still love the running back position, but when they asked me to switch or said that I was gonna like switch, I was really just like, whatever the team needs, whatever like the coaches are asking of me, I'm gonna try to do my best at that spot. And I mean, it was kind of scary at first because like I hadn't played receiver in a really long time. I used to play a bit in high school, but like I was always more of a running back. But I mean, I guess it was just the trust that they gave me and just said, we think that you can do this. And so I was like, okay, like I was excited once I heard. So.
Well, it certainly quite literally took it and ran with it. Jake, some questions for you here. 2-time All Ivy League player, led the league in tackles last year. I will tell you that we were covering I guess it was the Princeton game up at your place last year. I remember it started to rain. It wasn't great weather. And I remember saying to the other guys in the booth, look, if you can't see, if you're not sure about a play, chances are you'll be okay if you say Jake Stebbins was in on the tackle. Even if you can't say it, go ahead and say it. You'll probably be okay with that. So you've been a leader on this team. So looking at it from the defensive perspective here, and again, looking back at last year and looking forward to this year, what do you say to your defensive teammates about what the defense needs to be better at this year?
Absolutely. I think one thing, just defense in general, it comes down to attitude, mentality, and most of all, discipline. And that's one thing that we were, we had lapses on, and we were lacking a little bit last year, was just discipline. Defense, we don't get to tell the offense what to do. We don't get to tell the receivers what to run, or the quarterback where to throw. We have to react. We have to do our job no matter what comes at us. And I think that's one thing that we've really been focusing on this offseason and coming into camp, is just being disciplined and doing our job and having that hard nose, get the job done mentality and attitude. It's definitely something that we've been working on.
Coming in, and you'll get it started a little bit later this week. And Coach talked about the notion of, the quality of backups, the quality of younger players or newer players. Don't even have to be younger players, but newer players getting more playing time here. Throughout the course of the off season, what's been your reaction to the newer players and how they're approaching their roles?
Amazing. I've really been impressed with a lot of the younger guys and the newer guys that are coming up, kind of how they embrace their role. Again, obviously I work most with the defense, but just how they embrace their role, and whether it is a backup or a rotational or a starter, just the mentality that they bring in, that, this is what I'm doing and this is how I can help the team with it. Just how they embrace that, I've really been impressed with by everyone.
A question by one of our media members, Harrison Brown Russo, who's from Total Sports Live, is with us and has indicated that there's a question here. So Harrison, why don't you jump right in?
Hey, thanks, Jack. Yeah, this question's for Thomas. I wanted to ask you about Jameson, one of your guys' quarterbacks, someone that you played with in high school back at Harvard Westlake. What have you seen from him as a quarterback over the years?
Yeah, I've seen him since like he was 14, 15 years old, and he's always been someone that can make plays, which is definitely awesome to have, especially because usually when you're thinking of the quarterback position, you're thinking of somebody that drops back and can just throw the ball around the field. But I mean, it's always nice to be able to have someone that can use their legs around the pocket and extend plays. I mean, I've also seen him like just grow up and just become more mature as a person. And that's been great to see too. He's a great kid, so I'm excited for this year.
Harrison, you good?
Yes, sir. Thanks, Jack.
Coach, let me sort of reflect on that a little bit, because again, the game that we were doing, you saw him come in as your quarterback, and there were flashes. There were clearly flashes of the ability to do a lot of things on the field. How do you see him evolving into this season?
Yeah, I mean, he's a great example, right? I mean, he's a true freshman. When he prepped the year at Air Force, but he's a true freshman on a team with 51 seniors, and he took advantage of the opportunity he had. And absolutely, when he has the ball in his hands, you think good things are going to happen because he shows you that it does. And so, all I would say about him offensively is the ball's going to be in his hand.
Let me, Coach, last question for you here before we wrap up this segment. We got a couple minutes, and I know that the notion of mental health of certainly students and student athletes in the forefront of a lot of discussions recently. And you've been working with the National Alliance of Mental Illness. Why your involvement with that, and why do you think it's so important in your role as a college head football coach?
Yeah, no, I was honored to join NAMI's the Finger Lake chapter board of directors this summer. I think mental health is an issue that is really something that's a big issue for all of us, but particularly student athletes in the Ivy League. They have a lot of demands. They're usually very motivated, self-starting type of kids. They can put a lot of pressure on themselves. And typically, I don't think it's something that sometimes people feel like it's okay to talk about. And to be able to normalize that, I married a therapist. I've gone to a therapist for 10 years. It's part of my well-being. It's part of my health. And so to try to use the platform I have to normalize that, I'm excited to do. I haven't announced this to the team yet. We have our first meeting tomorrow, but it's actually College Football Mental Health Week, the week we play Harvard. You're going to call that game, Jack. And so there's the Polinsky Foundation. They have College Football Mental Health Week, and the NAMI Finger Lakes, the group I'm associated with. We're going to drum up a lot of awareness and support that week. Wear some decals on our helmets. We have a local bank that's going to partner and help us raise money for mental health awareness. So maybe we can talk later on about some pub you can put on that game. But I think it's something that's really important.
And I think it's very important, as you mentioned, that it be viewed as not some sort of extraordinary effort that you have to make, but as part of your health and well-being. The same way you take care of your body, you take care of your mind. And I think, Coach, as you said, what's so important is to remove stigmas, to make sure that people understand. I did a story when I was doing a story for 60 Minutes, and it was about a wounded warrior, a special forces guy, horrible physical wounds. And he talked about the fact that he was all in, literally the day he got into the hospital doing his rehab physically, and yet he felt this stigma about saying to people, I need to deal with my mental health and well-being first. And he talked about how for warriors, for athletes, that's so important to get past that stigma. Yes?
Could not agree with you more.
Yeah. Well, good for you on that. Guys, you got a great guy leading you as a head coach here for a lot of reasons, and he knows he's got some fabulous student athletes on his team. Scheduling real quick for you. Cornell opens its season on the road against VMI on Saturday, September 7th at 1:30 p.m. And Coach, as you noted on Friday, October 7th, Harvard's coming up to your place to play, and ESPN will be there. So we'll look forward to seeing you all. Jake, Thomas, both of you, thanks so much for spending some time with us. Good luck to both of you this season. And Coach, always a pleasure to talk with you. Good luck to you also.
Thanks a lot, Jack. Appreciate it.
All right, you all be well now.
Thank you.